Good evening, everyone. I hope you all are healthy and safe. Actually, we are facing some issues with regard to the network, I mean the net connectivity, but I hope so that my voice is very much clear. I mean all the audios and the videos are very much clear. So let's start. You can say basically the same topic what we are discussing in the previous class. I think in the previous class we have taken the regard of, or we have discussed about up to actually all the basic concepts with regard to the theories of administration. I hope every concept, every aspect, every consideration and every you can say basically approach given by different propounders had been cleared in your mind what we have discussed in the previous classes. I mean, when I take the regard of theory, we have started our journey, of course, with a very elementary theory called as scientific management theory. Then we have taken the regard of some more theories like classical theory, bureaucratic theory, human relation theory, behavioral theory, and so on and so forth. Okay. Now, there is one more theory which could be asked in the examination, but I don't think so. That particular theory is very much important in the coming examination. I mean, there are so many other theories from where the question could be asked in 3 marker, 5 marker, or 11 type. So it is not very much required for us to focus on the last important theory called as the system approach. उसे पढ़ने के लिए अभी आपकी ज़रूरत नहीं है, कभी इन फ्यूचर अगर ज़रूरत होती है, इस बार के एग्जामिनेशन में वो क्वेश्चन नहीं आएगा, ठीक है। इन फ्यूचर अगर कोई ज़रूरत होती है तो मैं आपको बताऊंगा कि सिस्टम अप्रोच क्या है, बट ऑफकोर्स फिलहाल आपको उसको पढ़ने की ज़रूरत नहीं है, वन थिंग। Second thing, if you want to read the last important theory of system approach, please read by taking the consideration of 3 marker and 5 marker. And as we know very well, that we, the team of PRAYAS KSG, has provided all the concerned 3 markers and 5 markers of this particular unit. So you can read the whole aspect of 3 marker and 5 marker with regard to the system theory in your description section. Okay? Now today I am starting one more important topic which is codified in your syllabus. That particular topic is related to the transformative version of public administration. And that particular topic is very much interesting and highly cognizable to understand and to assimilate. Agree? And the topic is called as a development administration. Actually, we have to cover 3 important topics, which are the remaining topics. Now, remaining topics in the sense, from these topics, number of questions could be asked in 11 markers. I mean, long type of questions. Okay. So, I'm going to cover actually 2 topics, and for one topic, I'm going to give some assignment to you. Okay. The 2 specific topic what I'm going to cover over here in the coming 2 classes would be, the very first of them is actually the development administration, and second one, the new public administration. Now the evolution of both these important concepts of development administration and of course the new public administration has taken place in 1950s and 60s. 1950s and 60s. If you remember, in the previous class we have discussed about a topic called as the evolution of public administration. And then I taught you that there are certain stages in which the evolution of public administration had taken place. Stages like the politics administration dichotomy, then we are having number of other stages like the stage of principle, the stage of challenge, the stage of crisis of identity. So in the stage of crisis of identity, from approximately from 1940s to 1970s, take late 60s we can say, the evolution of 2 different concepts, 2 different paradigms had taken place in our administrative thought and administrative processes. The very first concept or the very first approach or thought is called as a development administration. And the second concept is called as a new public administration. Now the evolution of development and new public administration has taken place almost simultaneously, hand by hand. And both these important concepts of public administration are having a type of forward-backward linkage with each other. I mean, here I'm taking the regard of 2 important topics, let me tell you one more time, called as what? The development administration, other one the new public administration. Listen carefully. The evolution of both these paradigms, approaches, concepts, and both these outcomes we can say had taken place in 1950s and 60s in the era of challenge. I hope you remember all the 5 stages of the evolution of public administration, in which we can identify one stage called as the era of challenge. That starts of course in late 1930s and sustain up to late 1960s, called as the era of challenge, where number of scholars, propounders, theorists, administrators, managers have challenged the 2 basic norms of public administration, the 2 basic pillars of public administration. The first pillar is based on principles of public administration. And the second pillar is based on politics administration dichotomy. So the two profound and established pillar of public administration had been challenged from 1940s to 1970s in an era called as era of challenge. And in the same era of challenge, the evolution of two different thought or paradigm had taken place in the field of public administration, what we are going to cover in the coming time. The very first paradigm or thought is called as development administration. The other one is new public administration. I am starting my discussion with the very first thought or paradigm, I mean viewpoint called as the development administration, which is again very well codified in your syllabus. मैं आपको ये बता दूं कि इस टॉपिक से लेकर या इस टॉपिक से जुड़े हुए क्वेश्चन लॉन्ग टाइप में बिल्कुल आ सकते हैं, 5 मार्कर में भी आ सकते हैं। तो मैं वो टॉपिक को कवर करवा दे रहा हूं जो हाईली कॉन्सेप्चुअल भी हैं, जिनको पढ़ने में और समझने में आपको थोड़ी दिक्कत हो सकती है। और दूसरी बात, इन सबसे क्वेश्चन लॉन्ग टाइप में भी आ सकते हैं और 5 मार्कर में भी आ सकते हैं। But again we are finding some more topics in our syllabus called as principles of administration. So the question with regard to the principles of administration could be asked in 3 marker or 5 marker, what we have already provided to you in the form of some hard copies. तो आप उससे principles of administration देख सकते हैं। So let's cover the last important topic in this regard, and our very first topic would be the development administration. चलिए इस पर बात करते हैं, ठीक है। तो ये डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है क्या, इसके बारे में थोड़ी चर्चा, विश्लेषण, इलस्ट्रेशन, इवैल्यूएशन एंड यू कैन बेसिकली डिमार्केशन भी कर लेते हैं और समझते हैं कि डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन आखिर होता क्या है, यानी ये पैराडाइम आखिर था क्या, ठीक है। तो मैंने आपको बताया कि द इवोल्यूशन ऑफ दिस पर्टिकुलर कंसेप्ट हैड टेकन प्लेस इन 1950s and 60s. एग्री? In 1950s and 60s. And when I use the term development administration, it is quite clear by the name that it is dealing with some developmental activities or developmental policies actually. तो देखो हुआ क्या कि we know very well in 1940s and of course 50s, mainly in 1950s or late part of 1940s, the liquidification of colonial rule had taken place. I mean, the freedom to different countries had been given. These countries, of course, are in Africa, in Southeast Asia, South Asia, in some part of Latin America also. Okay? So the liquidification of colonial rule, called as imperialism, had taken place, and most of the countries got freedom in 1940s and of course in 1950s. Now, when different countries of third world, including India, number of countries of Southeast Asia, and of course scores of countries of Africa, they got freedom, be very sure. Then UN, United Nations, has sponsored so many technical assistance programs to these countries. Not only the United Nations, but other bodies, other countries like USA, like you can say basically the former League of Nations and so on and so forth. After that, of course, a United Nations formation had taken place. So all these very profound countries and institutions have provided some technical assistance. Some technical assistance basically for what? For empowerment, for inclusiveness, for education, health, for agricultural development and so on and so forth, to these earlier colonial nations, including India. So when United Nations and America, mainly the two important bodies, and of course one country that is America, when they have provided their scientific, technical, philanthropic assistance to these countries, the assistance and the techniques and the methods which had been propounded by America had been applied by different countries for the purpose of agriculture development, water management, for the purpose of rural development, inclusiveness, education, health, etc. But then we came to know that all the assistance, technical assistance, monetary assistance, methodological assistance, or assistance in the form of technique which had been provided by different countries like America and of course countries of UN, countries of Europe, to third world countries, these techniques does not able to attain the desired target. And then a demand has been raised, be very sure, to develop an indigenous model for development. An indigenous, independent, autonomous model of development. Indigenous model of development literally means, be very sure, that every country, I mean the newly free countries, the third nation countries, all these newly freed countries have to prepare their own developmental policies, programs based on their own priorities and affiliations. It is not possible for these third world countries to adopt the technical assistance in a crude manner from America or from UN, no. It is very much required for these third world countries to prepare and to draft their own indigenous model of development. And that indigenous model of development should be based on their own preferences, affiliations, aspirations, demands of the people, their own priorities, and so on and so forth. Okay? Subsequently, number of scholars, okay, like Frederick Riggs, there was a scholar called as Riggs. Then there is one more scholar called as Wiedner. They have given a new thought, a new paradigm in the field of public administration. That new thought is called as development administration. I mean, according to them, the developmental needs of different nations could differ. When the developmental needs are different, then in a differentiated manner, it is required for every nation, every country to prepare their own policies, programs and schemes. हर एक कंट्री की डेवलपमेंटल नीड्स अलग अलग हो सकती है. कुछ कंट्रीज को एजुकेशन, हेल्थ पर ज़्यादा आउटले करना है, कुछ को रूरल डेवलपमेंट, एग्रीकल्चर डेवलपमेंट पर ज़्यादा फोकस करना है, कुछ कंट्रीज को अपने लोगों को बेसिक सर्विसेज लाइक सैनिटेशन, लाइट एक्सेट्रा ये प्रोवाइड करनी है. क्योंकि बहुत सारी ये जो कंट्रीज थी अभी अभी इनको फ्रीडम मिला था. तो ये सारी न्यूली डेवलप्ड कंट्रीज डेवलपमेंट कैसे करें? दे कैन डू डेवलपमेंट ऑफ कोर्स बाय इंडस्ट्रियल रिवॉल्यूशन और इंडस्ट्रियल you can basically focus. They can do development of course by agricultural production. They can focus on the developmental activities of course by giving more boost to manufacturing sector. So there are so many ways by which of course a particular country can develop. But according to these scholars, I mean Edward Wiedner and of course the Frederick Riggs, according to them, which have propounded the concept of development administration, be very sure, according to them, because there should be a separate indigenous model for every country based on the affiliation, demand, priorities, preferences and satisfaction of the people. हर country अपने खुद के developmental policies बनाए, और जब ये developmental policies बनाए तो ये जो policies बने उस country के preference के accordingly बने, उनके लोगों के demand के accordingly बने. और जब ऐसी policies बनती हैं, programs बनते हैं, या indigenous model develop हो जाता है, then only we can achieve the basic targets of development. So with this particular purpose, the new paradigm of developmental administration has been propounded. मैं आपको फिर बता दूं, the evolution of developmental administration has taken place in the era of challenge. Now in the era of challenge literally means what? If you remember, all the principles which had been propounded by the propounders of classical theory and scientific management theory, they does not able to attain the desired target. Desired target for production, for productivity, for economy, for effectiveness, ठीक है, for efficiency. तो जो principles of administration थे, जिस पर मैं कई बार बात पहले कर चुका हूं, जैसे unity of command, span of control, centralization, delegation, if these principles are applied in different countries, third world countries, or newly liberated countries, then these principles of administration does not able to attain the desired target. They cannot bring much more production, productivity and efficiency in administration, no. Okay? So every country should need an indigenous model. And with this thought, with this viewpoint and perspective, a new paradigm was evolved in the field of public administration called as development administration. What this development administration is all about? What are the main features of developmental administration? In which particular manner the propounders of developmental administration has given some suggestion to different countries to adopt a different model of development. That part we have to study in the coming time in a topic called as developmental administration or development administration. Okay. So let me specify some basic points about development administration. ठीक है, जो आपको informative points जो आपको दिमाग में रखना पड़ेगा, उसमें से पहली चीज ये है कि this particular term of development administration was first given or coined by an Indian scholar named U.L. Goswami. ठीक है, and Mr. George Grant, one more scholar, is regarded as a father of development administration. I mean, he has much more conceptualized the term development administration. But one of the the most important scholar which have contributed much more for the evolution of development administration, be very sure, was Frederick Riggs, this one, F.W. Riggs. There are some more scholars also like Edward Wheatener, then we have Columbra, number of them are there which have contributed to substantiate and to conceptualize the concept of development administration. Okay? So it's a very informative part what I want to highlight over here with regard to development administration. हमें ये पढ़ना है कि डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का जब थॉट आया, पर्सपेक्टिव आया या पैराडिम आया, तो इसने क्या क्या अपने सजेशन दिए, क्या क्या अपने फीचर्स दिए. मतलब नए देश जो थे, जो नए नेशन स्टेट बने, जो कंट्रीज नई नई फ्री हुई थी, जिनको फ्रीडम मिला था 1950s में और 1960s में, ठीक है, उन्हें अपने एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में क्या क्या चेंज करने चाहिए, उन्हें अपने एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में क्या क्या ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन या परिवर्तन करना चाहिए. So if those countries are going to adopt those changes, those inputs, or those different type of, you can say basically, concepts, then they can attain, of course, much more target. Okay? Then they can attain much more target. I mean, much more, you can say basically, profound objectives of development and inclusion. So this was a concept of development administration, what we have to study. ठीक है? चलिए, तो अब इस पर एक इंट्रोडक्शन लिखेंगे और उसके बाद ऑफ कोर्स आई विल डिस्कस ऑल द इंपॉर्टेंट आउटकम्स, रिकमेंडेशन एंड फीचर्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. ठीक है, तो चलिए चालू करते हैं. ये इंफॉर्मेशन तो मैंने आपको दे ही दी है, तो ऑफ कोर्स यू कैन सी फ्रॉम द PPT, of course, all the basic information about development administration, that how many scholars are there which have contributed in the evolution of development administration. Some basic informative informations like, of course, this term had been coiled by a scholar called as UL Goswami, and so on and so forth. Done? तो मैं सीधे इंट्रोडक्शन लिखवा देता हूँ आपको, जो आपको एग्जामिनेशन में लिखना है. बाकी बेसिक इंफॉर्मेशन यहाँ पर है आपके पास, फटाफट लिखिएगा, आगे बढ़ेंगे. ठीक है, कंटिन्यू. The paradigm or perspective of development administration, the paradigm or perspective of development administration, perspective of development administration, perspective of development administration, paradigm or perspective of development administration paradigm or perspective of development administration was evolved in 1950s and 60s, in 1950s and 60s, 1950s and 60s, 1950s and 60s, 60s with, अच्छा, just I'm stopping you. बच्चों आवाज आ रही है? आवाज आ रही है? Please give me your feedback. You are listening my voice or not? I hope my voice is coming. Just a minute. मेरी आवाज़ आ रही है? प्लीज़ थोड़ा सा फीडबैक अगर आप दोगे तो मुझे पता चल जाएगा कि आपको मेरी आवाज़ सुनाई दे रही है कि नहीं दे रही है। फिर हम आगे बढ़ते हैं। Okay, so now the voice is coming. We can proceed. Thank you. चलिए, so now just write introduction one more time and then we can proceed further about development administration. मैं आपको फिर बता दूं थोड़ा brief में अगर आपको आवाज नहीं पहुंची होगी. The evolution of development administration has taken place in 1950s and 60s, and this particular paradigm has been given, of course, to operationalize some new techniques and some new methods for those countries which have got freedom, of course, in 1950s and 60s after the liquidification of colonialism or imperialism. Agree? So the basic theme of this particular model, this particular approach or thought is to develop an indigenous model of development or an indigenous model of transformation and you can say basically inclusion. And for this particular purpose, the model called as development administration had been propounded. Agree? So that was a whole theme what I want to discuss over here. So just write the basic introduction what I'm telling you. Continue. मैंने लिखवा दिया, अगर आपने लिख लिया हो तो फिर से लिख लीजिएगा. The evolution of development administration has taken place. The evolution of development administration has taken place in 1950s and 60s. In 1950s and 60s, in the era of 1950s and 60s, in the era of crisis, in the era of crisis, in the era of crisis after the liquidification of colonialism, after the liquidification of colonialism, and extension of American economic and technical activities, and extension of American economical and technical assistance to newly emerged countries, Other factors like UN sponsored developmental schemes, other factors like UN sponsored developmental schemes and establishment of comparative administration group, has also contributed in the evolution of development administration. Development administration. Continue. One more sentence, last paragraph, the same paragraph, last sentence. Continue. The basic objective of development administration, the basic objective of development administration, is a search of a new indigenous administrative model, developmental administrative model, to meet the developmental needs of newly emerged countries. One more thing, this paradigm also focuses on the transformation of existing administrative structure, by adopting some new techniques, strategies, methods, and perspectives to attain developmental goals. So I hope so all the concepts and the consideration with regard to the introduction of developmental administration or simply development administration is very much clear. And now we are coming to the main elements, main outcome, main features, and also the main recommendation of development administration. Okay, the question with regard to the outcome, elements, features, and of course the recommendation could be asked in the examination. And let me tell you one more time, the question could be asked of course in long type in the sense of course where we have to write 200 words answer. Okay. तो चलिए जरा बात कर लेते हैं what are the main features of development administration or in which particular manner of course we can assimilate the concept. इस पर भी मैं थोड़ी सी और बात करना चाह रहा था आप लोगों से. चलिए let's come to development administration. I mean the features of development or the elements of development administration. You can write a broad title, elements or features of development administration. ठीक है. Now see. Listen. So the very first feature what we can demarcate in the examination with regard to development administration is called as what? The change orientation, and the second one is called as a goal orientation. So two features I am going to discuss simultaneously with regard to development administration. One is change, other one goal orientation. अब ये change orientation क्या है? इसका सिंपल मतलब ये होता है कि be very sure about the concept कि अभी कुछ देश आजाद हुए हैं from imperialism and colonialism. Be very sure. So they are having the administrative structure which is of course nothing but the colonial administrative structure. मतलब when I take the regard of India, अगर हम इंडिया की बात करें in 1950s and 60s, mainly in 1950s, we are finding the same existing British administrative structure what we are practicing from the last 2 decades. And this particular administrative structure do have a particular type of behavior. मतलब जितने भी administrators थे जो कि 1950 में भी administrators बने, ठीक है, चाहे वो IAS हो, IPS हो, whatever the case में भी हो, या ऊपर से लेकर नीचे तक हिरार्की में जितने भी एम्प्लॉइज हों गवर्नमेंट के, ठीक है, उनका एक माइंड सेट था, उनका एक सोचने का तरीका था, ठीक है. They are having a particular perspective towards the development. They are just abiding with the rules and regulations. ठीक है. So what actually happened? The concept of development administration has given the recommendation, and the propounders of development administration has identified this particular feature that the existing administrative structure should be changed. So one of the main feature of development administration is to bring change. Change in the existing administrative structure, behavior, belief, change in the existing administrative mode of working, method, rules and regulation. ठीक है, और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन चेंज क्यों हो और चेंज कैसे हो कि उसमें इतनी कैपेबिलिटी आ जाए कि अगर हमारी सोसाइटी, इकोनॉमी, अगर हमारा कल्चरल एस्पेक्ट या कॉन्स्टिट्यूशनल फॉर्मेट चेंज हो रहा है, then the administration should have the coping capacity or ability to adopt all these changes. So when I'm using the term change orientation do have two important dimensions or two important facets. उसका पहला डायमेंशन ये है कि जो एग्जिस्टिंग एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का स्ट्रक्चर था 1950s और 60s में, उसको हम लोग चेंज करें। जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स वर्क कर रहे हैं उनको हम सेंसिटाइज करें, उनके बिहेवियर में चेंज लाएं, रूल्स रेगुलेशन में चेंज लाएं, उनमें फ्लेक्सिबिलिटी लाएं। एंड वी हैव टू इंक्रीज द कोपिंग कैपेबिलिटी और एबिलिटी ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव स्ट्रक्चर टू मीट सम न्यू चैलेंजेस ऑफ डेवलपमेंट, because some new challenges of development are going to evolve in the decade of 1950s and 60s, and it is required for the administration of colonial era to cope up with these administrative changes. So the very first focus, the very first feature or the very first element of development administration was that existing administration should change and should develop some coping capability to adopt some new method, techniques and processes. ठीक है? And this particular feature is called as what? Change orientation. Administration को change करना पड़ेगा, तभी जाके developmental administration के goals को आप achieve कर सकते हो। Development के goals क्या हो सकते हैं? Rural development हो सकता है, agriculture development हो सकता है, industrial development हो सकता है, education inclusiveness हो सकती है, health services हो सकती है, basic services हो सकती हैं like sanitation, like water supply, like solid waste management. They all are coming under the purview of, under the ambit of development. So we have to achieve the developmental goals, and that's why the second important feature of development administration would be goal orientation. I mean, it is required for every country, every administrative setup, every officer working in the administrative machinery to identify a particular goal of development. मतलब हर एक कंट्री जो अभी अभी आजाद हुई है उसे एक काम ये करना चाहिए कि एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के लिए या पूरी कंट्री के लिए क्यों ना हो या पूरे डिपार्टमेंट या मिनिस्ट्री के लिए ही क्यों ना हो, कुछ गोल्स बना दे। गोल्स क्या हो सकते हैं? रूरल डेवलपमेंट के हो सकते हैं, एग्रीकल्चर डेवलपमेंट के हो सकते हैं, या इंडस्ट्रियल ट्रांसफॉर्मेशन के हो सकते हैं। गोल टू ऑफ कोर्स मैन्युफैक्चर मोर प्रोडक्ट, मोर सर्विसेज, व्हाट आर द केस में बी। सो देयर शुड बी सम गोल्स। गोल क्या हो सकते हैं कि इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हमें डेवलप करना है, सड़कें बनाना है, ब्रिजेस बनाना है, ओवरब्रिज बनाना है, पुल्स बनाना है, ठीक है, कनेक्टिविटी बेटर करनी है, तो ये हमारे गोल्स होने चाहिए। सो देयर शुड बी सम प्रॉपर गोल्स ऑफ एवरी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव मशीनरी, एवरी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव स्ट्रक्चर, एवरी मिनिस्ट्री एंड डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ डिफरेंट कंट्रीज। लाइक व्हेन आई टेक द रिगार्ड ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया, तो 1950 और 60s में जब हमारा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, नया एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन उतना इवॉल्व नहीं था, देन द मिनिस्ट्रीज एंड डिपार्टमेंट ऑफ गवर्नमेंट ऑफ इंडिया does not have the same type of profound and inclusive goals. So according to development administration, be very sure every ministry and department of government of India, in the case of India, should have a proper goal. और उस गोल के लिए उसे एक पर्सपेक्टिव प्लान बनाना पड़ेगा, फ्यूचरिस्टिक ब्लूप्रिंट बनाना पड़ेगा। अभी तक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन क्या कर रहा था? केवल रूल्स और रेगुलेशंस को फॉलो करता था। तो जो भी कोई रूल है, रेगुलेशन है, उसको वो फॉलो करता था। और ये जो मीन्स होते थे ऑफ डेवलपमेंट, रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशंस आर नथिंग बट द मीन्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट। बट द मीन्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट, आई मीन रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन, इटसेल्फ ट्रांसफॉर्म इनटू ए गोल। रूल को फॉलो करना गोल नहीं है, गोल कुछ और है। अगर आप केवल रूल और रेगुलेशन को फॉलो कर रहे हो तो आप डेवलपमेंट नहीं कर रहे हो। डेवलपमेंट के लिए आपको कुछ अलग से ऑब्जेक्टिव्स बनाने पड़ेंगे कि इतने समय में, मैं एग्जांपल देता हूं, अगर एक गोल बन गया, ऑब्जेक्टिव बन गया कि 3 ईयर के अंदर हमें 4 लेन रोड बनानी है, तो ये हमारा गोल है। 2030 तक हमें मान लीजिए लिटरेसी रेट 100% करनी है, मैं एग्जांपल दे रहा हूं, ये हमारा गोल है। 2025 तक हमें अप्रोक्सीमेटली 10 करोड़ हाउस होल्ड बनाने हैं अंडर प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना, तो ये हमारा गोल है। ठीक है, वी हैव टू सप्लाई ऑफ कोर्स एनर्जी अंडर उज्ज्वला योजना, दिस इज नथिंग बट आवर गोल। We have to create some smart cities under An inclusive flagship smart city program, that's our goal. तो गोल बिल्कुल डिमार्केटेड है। तो देखो क्या बात की जा रही है डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के अंदर, बात ये की जा रही है कि एक तरफ तो डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, ठीक है, का ओरिएंटेशन क्या होना चाहिए, चेंज होना चाहिए। मतलब जो एग्जिस्टिंग एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है वो कौन सा एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन हो जाए, डेवलपमेंटल हो जाए। अब उसे डेवलपमेंट करना है, और डेवलपमेंट करने के लिए उसे क्या करना पड़ेगा, चेंज लाने पड़ेंगे अपने एग्जिस्टिंग स्ट्रक्चर में, बिहेवियर में, सोचने के तरीके, मोड ऑफ वर्किंग में, एवरीथिंग में। And it is required to increase the coping capabilities, accepting, adopting capabilities of new techniques, methods of the existing administration. That particular perspective is called as change orientation. And secondly, every administrative machinery, structure, office, ministry or department should have a goal, developmental goal. So it was a second important feature of developmental administration called as goal orientation. Okay? The third important feature of this particular paradigm, approach or thought perspective is progressivism. Okay? Now what this progressivism is all about? Development administration का मानना था कि when I use the term progressivism, ठीक है, progress करना है हमको, so we have to achieve the goal of progressivism in three sectors. One is, ठीक है, the progressivism should be a type of political progressivism. Then we should have one more type of progressivism, ठीक है, be very sure, called as economical progressivism. And finally one more type of progressivism called as a democratic progressivism. So what this progressivism is all about? सुनिए कि when I use the term political progressivism, it means हमें करना क्या पड़ेगा, we have to provide representation to every section of the society in the political process. Representation to the weaker section of the society, representation to women's, representation to, of course, that particular group which is regarded as disadvantaged group. तो अगर समाज में, समुदाय में कुछ ऐसे लोग हैं जो कि वीकर सेक्शन है, डिसएडवांटेज ग्रुप है, या जिनको पॉलिटिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं मिला है, पॉलिटिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन से मेरा मतलब है ऑफ कोर्स चाहे वो लोकसभा हो, विधानसभा हो, चाहे वो राज्यसभा हो, चाहे वो विधान परिषद हो, चाहे वो पंचायत हो, चाहे वो नगर पालिका हो, तो अगर इनमें रिप्रेजेंटेशन नहीं मिला, देन वी हैव टू प्रोवाइड देम पॉलिटिकल रिप्रेजेंटेशन. एंड इफ एवरी कंट्री, द न्यूली इमर्ज्ड कंट्री, बी वेरी श्योर, is in a position to provide a representation, political representation to the weaker section of the society, the disadvantaged group, then that particular country automatically become progressive by adopting the notion of progressivism. But that particular type of progressivism would be which one? Political progressivism. और पॉलिटिकल प्रोग्रेसिविज्म के अंदर हमें क्या करना पड़ेगा, लोगों को, जो कमजोर वर्ग है, वीकर सेक्शन है, उसको ज्यादा रिप्रेजेंटेशन देना पड़ेगा. दैट्स कॉल्ड एज प्रोग्रेसिविज्म. ठीक है. देयर इज वन मोर फीचर ऑफ डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन which should be adopted by every country called as what? The economic progressivism. Economic progressivism का मतलब ये होता है, be very sure, कि the resources which are prevailing in our country, like when I take the regard of India, it could be any resource, the natural resource, the physical resource, the capital resource or the other resources, चाहे वो जल हो, जंगल हो, जमीन हो, जो भी कुछ हो, जो बोला जाता है, चाहे वो कैपिटल हो, तो उनका डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन इस तरीके से किया जाए समाज के बीच में, सोसाइटी के बीच में, ठीक है, that there should be a type of uniformity in the distribution of resources. So we have to distribute the resources. It could be any resource, it could be any resource, it could be food grains, it's also a resource, it could be wealth, paisa, it's also a resource, it could be of course what other type of resources like physical, natural resources, should be distributed in such a manner that there should be a uniformity in allocation. So if any particular country is in a position to distribute the resources to every section of the society, it could be weaker, disadvantaged, upper level, middle level society, whatever the case may be. But if a country able to distribute the resources in a much more, you can say basically egalitarian manner, what we can say, or in a much more equivalent manner, then that particular country would be economically progressive. So one more important feature element of development administration is that of course we have to distribute the resources in a much more uniform manner, in a much more equivalent manner. Then only we can achieve the goal of economical progressivism. But with economical progressivism, there should be one more progressivism in every country, in every newly emerged country. And the third important feature of progressivism would be democratic progressivism. अच्छा, democratic का मतलब होता है कि all the different type of pressure groups, all the different type of women and human rights organization which are working in a country, all the different type of NGOs, voluntary organizations which are existing in our country, including media, they should be strengthened. They should be strengthened. तो जितने भी ये नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स हैं, मतलब नॉन स्टेट एक्टर्स से मेरा मतलब ये नहीं है कि वो स्टेट के अगेंस्ट जाके काम कर रहे हैं, पर दे आर नॉट कमिंग अंडर द डेफिनेशन ऑफ परव्यू ऑफ स्टेट. So all the non-state actors, it could be NGOs, voluntary organizations, CBOs, or women's organization, human rights organizations, media, etc. They should be strengthened. उन्हें powerful बनाया जाए. So when these institutions or when these, you can say basically, sectors become much more strengthened, powerful, then they will create a new type of relationship between the people and the state. And that relationship between the people and the state should be based on much more transparency, accountability and responsiveness. तो हमें करना क्या पड़ेगा डेमोक्रेटिक प्रोग्रेसिविज्म के अंतर्गत कि जितने भी प्रेशर ग्रुप काम कर रहे हैं देश में, कोई भी प्रेशर ग्रुप हो सकता है, और अगर मैं प्रेशर ग्रुप नहीं भी बोलूं, जैसे ट्रेड यूनियन क्या है, एक प्रेशर ग्रुप है, हमें उसका स्ट्रेंथन करना था. हमें एनजीओस को, वॉलंटरी ऑर्गेनाइजेशन को स्ट्रेंथन करना है, हमें मीडिया को पावरफुल बनाना है. अच्छा, ये थॉट बहुत पुराना है, 50s और 60s का ध्यान रखना. So these are the basic elements of a notion called as progressivism. And if any country able to achieve or attain the elements of progressivism, then we can say that particular country is on the right path of important three elements of progressivism. We can say that particular type of administration would be a development administration. तो अब हमें एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन बनाना होगा, और डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन बनाने के लिए उसमें कुछ चेंज करने पड़ेंगे, उनके कुछ गोल सेट करने पड़ेंगे और उन्हें प्रोग्रेसिव बनाना पड़ेगा. अगर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन या पूरी कंट्री प्रोग्रेसिव है, then we can say our administration is much more developmental. So I hope so all the three important features of development administration are very much clear. क्लियर? तो अब कुछ लिखेंगे हम लोग इस पर, तीनों फीचर्स पर. मैं लिखवा देता हूं, एक आउटलाइन में आपको दे देता हूं तो आपको चीजें समझ में आ जाए और क्या क्या लिखना चाहिए, क्या नहीं लिखना चाहिए, एक कंसेप्ट का क्या मतलब होता है. मेरे ख्याल से अब आप समझे हैं कि डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का मतलब क्या. अगर एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन इतने सारे एलिमेंट्स को या फीचर्स को अडॉप्ट कर लेता है किसी देश का, तो अपने आप वो डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन बन जाएगा. या एक डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन में ये फीचर्स होने चाहिए, तब जाके वो डेवलपमेंटल पॉलिसीज और प्रोग्राम्स को बेटर इंप्लीमेंट कर पाएगा. ये हमारा कंसेप्ट था. हमारा से मेरा मतलब है जो स्कॉलर्स ने ये कंसेप्ट दिया था. ठीक है. सो नाउ जस्ट स्टार्ट राइटिंग about the features or the elements of development administration. Done? Very first feature. First feature. Change orientation. Change orientation. Change orientation. I agree. Change orientation. Continue. This is an inherent philosophy of development administration that value changes with values means affiliation, preferences. Values changes with circumstances and situations. Value changes with Circumstances and situations. Circumstances and situations. Circumstances and situations. Subsequently, the orientation of administration. Subsequently, the orientation of administration. Orientation of administration is to bring change. Is to bring change in the existing. Is to bring change in the existing. Is to bring change in the existing administrative structure. In the existing administrative structure and behavior. Administrative structure and behavior. I hope you got my point. Administrative structure and behavior. Continue. The change is a strategy for increasing. The change is a strategy for increasing. Change is a strategy for increasing the coping ability of administrative system. The coping ability of administrative system. Administrative system in different circumstances. Administrative system in different circumstances. मैं आपको फिर बता दूं, ये जो पैराडिम पर्सपेक्टिव या थॉट आया था डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का, ये 1950s और 60s में आया था। तो उस समय के एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव स्ट्रक्चर को आपको दिमाग में रखना पड़ेगा, और उस समय जो इन्होंने अपने एलिमेंट्स या फीचर्स दिए थे उसको हमें ध्यान में रख के पढ़ना पड़ेगा इसको, ठीक है। तो आप उस समय की सिचुएशन को समझिएगा, उस अकॉर्डिंगली ऑफ कोर्स द होल एलिमेंट, द होल रिकमेंडेशन हैड बीन गिवन बाय द प्रोपाउंडर्स ऑफ डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन। आई होप यू गॉट माय पॉइंट। ये उस समय की बात। नेक्स्ट फीचर, गोल ओरिएंटेशन। Goal orientation. Continue. The primary focus of development administration should be the achievement of some developmental goals, in a much more systematic manner. Continue. It is required for every ministry and department of. Administrative structure. जितने भी डिपार्टमेंट्स हैं किसी नेशन के, कंट्री के, एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव स्ट्रक्चर to determine some goals and to achieve these goals in a proper time framework. So development administration should be goal oriented. Proper time framework. I hope the two important features are very much clear. Now let's come to the third one. Third one is progressivism. Continue. Progressiveness is an accepted and is an accepted and universal feature of development administration. Continue. Development administration. Continue. In political system progressiveness, would imply greater participation, जो मैंने बताया था पहले, greater participation of the people in governmental affairs. Similarly, in democratic system, it could apply to strengthen bodies like pressure groups, voluntary organization, women organizations, NGOs, etc. Apart from this, in economical system, it focus on the equitable distribution of resources. तो अगर कोई एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन ये सारे काम कर पा रहा है, प्रोग्रेसिवनेस इन इकोनॉमिकल सेक्टर, डेमोक्रेटिक सेक्टर, पॉलिटिकल सेक्टर, तो हम उस एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन को बोलेंगे क्या? डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. Because these are nothing but the features of development administration. In this way, the administration has to change. I hope you got my point. The administration of the newly emerged countries. Now let's come to one more important feature of this particular paradigm called as a development administration. And the next important feature is innovativeness. देखो ये क्या है? वैसे तो बहुत सारे फीचर्स है, मैंने कुछ डिमार्केट किए हैं, व्हाट यू कैन राइट इन द एग्जामिनेशन. इनोवेटिवनेस. अच्छा, इनोवेटिवनेस का मतलब होता है कि एवरी एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव सेटअप or every country should develop some new method, techniques, planning mechanism, okay, some new, you can say basically pronouncement to attain their developmental objectives. So it is required for every administrator to be of course much more innovative, more creative, and much more proactive to develop some new method, techniques and some new pronouncement to attain their developmental goals. एक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, डेवलपमेंटल एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन तभी होगा जब वो उन मेथड को, उन टेक्निक्स को, उन प्रोसेसेस को अडॉप्ट कर ले और इंप्लीमेंट करे, ऑपरेशनलाइज करे, जो उससे पहले वो ऑपरेशनलाइज नहीं करता था. सो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन शुड बी क्रिएटिव, शुड बी इनोवेटिव, should be much more proactive, and should be sometimes of course adventurous also. Like in 1960s and 70s, I hope you know very well, when I take the regard of our country, in 1970s we have started a program called as Command Area Development Program, CADP. And this Command Area Development Program is basically focusing on the conservation of water. Then we have started of course one more important program called as Tribal Area Development Program. So there are a number of programs which had been started by Government of India in 1960s and 1970s. By accepting the notion of development administration, I mean development administration focuses on to adopt or to assimilate some new method and techniques to attain the desired targets of development. I hope you got my point. Okay, and that's why one of the main feature of development administration is which one? Innovativeness, creativity, sometimes adventurism. to develop some new strategies of development. Agree? And there is one more feature what we can demarcate with regard to development administration, and that feature is flexibility in the organizational procedures. ठीक है, इसका मतलब ये है कि all the existing rules, regulations, procedures, methods by which of course we are operationalizing our existing previous programs should be changed. It is not required for the examination to focus only on rules and regulations, laws and legislations, no. एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का काम केवल रूल को फॉलो करना नहीं है, एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का काम उससे बाहर जाकर, ठीक है, डेवलपमेंटल प्रैक्टिसेस को ऑपरेशनलाइज करना है। एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का काम अपने रेगुलेशन मतलब रेगुलेटरी फ्रेमवर्क, रूल फ्रेमवर्क के बाहर जाकर लोगों का पब्लिक वेलफेयर करना है, मतलब लोगों को बेसिक सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करना है। एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का काम पब्लिक वेलफेयर है, पब्लिक इंटरेस्ट है। एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन का काम इंक्लूसिवनेस लाना है, मतलब अगर पब्लिक सर्विस डिलीवरी हो रही है इन द फील्ड ऑफ एजुकेशन, हेल्थ, तो सबको मिले। द यूनिवर्सलाइजेशन ऑफ एजुकेशन, द यूनिवर्सलाइजेशन ऑफ पब्लिक सर्विसेज शुड बी द मेन एम ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन, नॉट टू फॉलो ओनली रूल्स एंड रेगुलेशन। सो रूल्स आर द मीन्स टू अटेन डेवलपमेंट बट नॉट द एंड्स। अगर कोई नियम है या कोई लॉ है और एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन लॉ को या रूल को फॉलो कर रहा है तो अच्छी बात है, आप फॉलो करिए, लेकिन उस रूल को फॉलो करने को आप एंड नहीं बनाओ, गोल मत बनाओ। आपका काम केवल रूल फॉलो करना नहीं है, नो। द मेन वर्क ऑफ एडमिनिस्ट्रेटर्स, आई मीन पब्लिक सर्वेंट, इज टू ब्रिंग इंक्लूसिवनेस, यूनिवर्सलाइजेशन इन पब्लिक सर्विसेज, टू ब्रिंग आउट somewhat what socio-economical transformation. And if the administration able to attain these targets by showing some flexibility in their rule and procedure, then the concerned administration would be called as what? The development administration. So development administration is not rule oriented, it is goal oriented. Development orientation is not procedure focused, it is basically what? Change oriented. And the main primary focus of development administration is to bring down or bring out actually some flexibility in the procedures, rules and regulations. If the administration able to do so, अपने rules को ज़्यादा flexible बनाएगा, तो उस administration को हम लोग बोलते हैं क्या? Development administration. My concept is very simple. मेरे ख्याल से आप समझ गए होंगे कि if administration of different ministries and department of government of India or administration of different countries or different world, or different administration of different countries actually, able to attain and adopt the basic features of development administration, then we can pronounce or we can designate that particular type of administration as a development administration. ठीक है? So this was the thought of development administration. I hope you got my point. ठीक है? And the evolution of this thought had taken place in 1950s and 60s in the era of challenge. मैं आपको फिर बता दूं, उस समय सिचुएशन ये थी कि हमें ये समझ में नहीं आ रहा था कि जो एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, जो पुराना एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन है, वो कोई खास अचीवमेंट परफॉर्म नहीं कर पाया था, अटेन नहीं कर पाया था। और एक डिमांड उठने लगी थी कि अब एडमिनिस्ट्रेटिव प्रैक्टिसेस को, रूल्स रेगुलेशंस को, मेथड टेक्निक्स को चेंज किया जाए, मॉडिफाई किया जाए। तब जाके इस कंसेप्ट का इवोल्यूशन हुआ कॉल्ड एज डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन। आई होप सो you are in a position to understand the very concept of development administration. ठीक है? चलिए दो और पॉइंट्स हैं वो आप लिखेंगे, then we are going to wind up this particular topic. Continue. The next point is innovativeness. Innovativeness. Continue. Development administration is not dogmatic and traditional. Development administration is not dogmatic, मतलब following existing rules, is not dogmatic or traditional, is not dogmatic or traditional, dogmatic or traditional, dogmatic or traditional, dogmatic or traditional, but it stress upon, stress on but it stress on to adopt some new structures, stress on to adopt some new structures, methods, procedures, policies, plans, structures, methods, procedures, policies, plans, and programs, policies, plans, and programs, which are required to attain, the new needs of development, I hope it's clear. So this particular feature is called as innovativeness. Now just write down about the last important feature of development administration called as the flexibility in organizational procedures. इसको भी लिखोगे? Flexibility in organizational procedures. Last feature, flexibility in organizational procedures. Continue. Traditional administration is rule-oriented. Rule-oriented that treats rules as ends rather than means. Traditional administration is rule-oriented, that treats rules as an end, rather than means. Rules as an end rather than means. However, development administration requires an optimum flexibility. Development administration requires an optimum flexibility. To apply rules in certain significant manner. So that the rules does not create any obstacle or hindrances. Any obstacle in the achievement of developmental goals. ठीक है? In the achievement of developmental goals. मुझे उम्मीद है, I hope so, you are in a position to understand the substantial concept of development administration. Again, it's a very important topic which could be asked in a long type of question. I hope it's clear. So here we have completed almost every aspect of development administration. If you want to read this particular paradigm or concept more, then you can take the reference of some other notes also, and of course we are also providing notes for the concerned purpose. ठीक है? अब हमें एक लास्ट टॉपिक पढ़ना है जिस पर मुझे लगता है कि क्वेश्चन आ सकता है, और वो है द न्यू पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन. ठीक है? We will discuss that particular topic tomorrow, and tomorrow we are in a position to wind up this particular lecture series on public administration. ठीक है? तो कल हम इस लेक्चर सीरीज का एक लास्ट टॉपिक पढ़ेंगे और कल आपका लेक्चर सीरीज यहाँ पर हम लोग खत्म करने वाले हैं. ठीक है? तो मुझे उम्मीद है कि आप लोगों को इससे काफ़ी बेनिफिट हुआ होगा और आप लोगों को कुछ कंसेप्ट क्लियर हुए होंगे एक्चुअली डेवलपमेंट एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के बारे में या पूरे पब्लिक एडमिनिस्ट्रेशन के बारे में. ठीक है? सो विद दिस नोट, today I am of course closing the lecture. I am of course closing the class, actually not the lecture. And tomorrow I will pursue with the last important topic of this particular section of public administration. Okay? So thank you very much, take care, and if you are having any viewpoint with regard to the initiative what we have taken in the recent past to provide some free lectures to you, of course you can provide some feedback to us. Okay? Thank you very much. So that's all for today. Thank you very much. Take care one more time. Be safe, be healthy, and take care. Thank you.